shifting gears a little, but also just hilarious to me. I saw a clip earlier of some Israelis with a trebuchet throwing throwing flaming balls over the wall.
I saw that. They were like, some people right on the other side of that wall in Lebanon must have upset them because
they were trying to grow some food.
Yeah, what the fuck? Right, like food. You know, they didn't have a trebuchet handy, and so like they pulled up YouTube and like figured out how to build a trebuchet.
No, it must be bigger.
It must be bigger than this. We will be the laughing stock of whole Middle East. Like it was pretty cool.
Trebuchet.
Taylor said Lebanon, but it's probably Palestine? Question mark. I don't know.
The thing I saw about it was that it was into Lebanon.
Oh, okay.
They've got lots of borders. The Israelis everywhere. It could have been Brooklyn. You never know.
Got their hands in a lot of pies. Yeah. If we find some underground trebuchets, we know who did it.
Underground trebuchets are a terrible idea.
The Jews and their underground trebuchets.
Nothing's going wrong.
Building a trebuchet.
Hey, find something that works. Though. I mean, the Ukrainians are still fighting off the Russians with like Home Alone booby traps and stuff, and it's working.
Yeah. Why don't they get some trebuchets over there? That could be. Think how cheap those are to cobble together.
They're expensive. Yeah. I was going to build one.
Really?
There's
no way they're that expensive.
Must be cheaper than artillery.
Modern munitions.
Well, I mean, if you want to build one from Home Depot lumber, like 2x4s and such, like you could build a small one. But if you want to build a real trebuchet, you need some large pieces of wood that you don't just pick up at the store.
I saw. Man, this is feels like a lost type of YouTube video. But you remember pumpkin chunking?
Yeah,
I watched that incessantly in high school.
Yeah, they would fire pumpkins out of these enormous air cannons, and it would just be a bunch of guys being like, "Look how far it goes," and like that's it was the whole thing.
I thought they were trebuchets.
One guy did. You're both right. They had multiple classes. They had the centrifugal class as well that neither of you mentioned, where this thing starts. It starts slow and it gets faster and faster. This big arm that's counterbalanced, it's swinging. It's like whoa, 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 and finally it's just like whoa, 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 and then they let it go at the exact right moment and sling the thing. And then they've got the trebuchets, and then they've got the air cannons. Those are the big boys, of course, that can shoot a pumpkin 3,000 or 4,000 feet or something crazy.
The centrifugal is not the king of the hill in this category.
Air cannon is insane.
Yeah,
I would thought an air cannon would shoot nothing but pumpkin pieces.
You have to dial it in. That's exactly what pumpkin chunking is all about. Woody. You got it's about how much air can we and so you got to grow your own pumpkins that are hardy and have that thick shell wall so they can manage to handle 800 1,000.
I wonder if anybody uses counterfeit pumpkins, right? Like epoxy injected pumpkins.
They inspect the pumpkin downrange. You got a guy on an ATV. See,
like a frozen paintball.
This is how pumpkin chunking got shut down. So the reason there is no longer a pumpkin chunking festival is because one of the guys who flipped his ATV and fucking paralyzed himself out there being a goober. But you'd have these guys on ATVs who would go out and they'd get the exact measurement because they kept records for all the classes and stuff, and people took it seriously. They'd interview them in the off season and they'd be coming up with a new thing. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a game changer right here. It was cool.
That was about the time that they started. Yeah, it's about the time they started throwing cars off the cliff in Alaska. I think that was probably, hey, you know what? Screw it. Let's throw pumpkins. Let's throw cars full of pumpkins if you wanted to.
Talking about YouTube.
Yeah, the point you brought up about accelerating, the pumpkin mist coming out, like you're gonna air cannon is gonna turn to jello. I was watching something. It was one of those Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody talking about like space travel, like part of the limiting factor, like how fast we could go. Like even if we had a ship with a big enough engine on it that we could go the speed of light or close to it, to accelerate a human body up to the speed of light and slow it back down again at a non-fatal level, like 15 Gs or something, takes like 80 something years. Like you're talking about with the pumpkin, to accelerate that pumpkin up to a point it doesn't just come apart. It takes like 44 years to accelerate a human body up to near the speed of light without turning us into pumpkin juice. And then
I wonder what the perceived amount of time would be, because time dilates the faster you get. So the perceived time would be far less than 44 years for you, for you.
Yes. But on a real world, well, I mean, you would still, your stopwatch would still ring the same time. From an outward observer, it would go on longer, but you would still experience the same time.
No,
it would just be different.
Your time is different. No, you're in a bubble. You're in a different bubble of time. Time's not consistent. It changes based on energy and mass. But
it does change. But it was my understanding though that it's still like relative to you. Like if one of y'all took off and flew around at near the speed of light and came back, and we're all been dead 100 years. You know, in your ship though, you still experienced a year of travel. Like you had it. Yes, the time is different, but you still experienced the same level of time. So like 88 years of acceleration and deceleration is still 88 years for you, even though it was 1,400 years for all of us, or for 10,000.
Oh, you think he was factoring that in when he gave his
that was my understanding. Yeah, I mean that you don't.
I doubt he's that smart.
I don't know, but you know, but the whatever you're in, no matter how fast you're going, you're still, you know, babies still grow the same rate, plants grow the same time. From the observer standpoint, being in that ship.
Yeah, sure. As you're in the ship, things don't start moving all slow and everything.
Yeah, but looking at the window. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
looking at the window, everything's happening in fast forward.
If you could zip out, you know, at the speed of light for 6 months and then turn around and come back at the speed of light for 6 months, when you got back, everybody would be long dead.
Oh, yeah. It'd be Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that's why like all the sci-fi is lies, except for the ones that use like space bending and wormholes and stuff. Star Trek shit where we're just skimming along faster than the speed of light. Well, I mean, you know, it's not.
Yeah, it's sci-fi. They have to do a little creative, meandering, figure it out, make it work for the story. And I don't need it to be 100% right. Is there any practical application that we have now of the time dilation shit?
Yes. Yeah. So that was the. What they did was, I think Einstein had come up with a theory. Some mathematicians come up with a theory about time dilation and the speed and everything. And so they had these 2 atomic clocks, and they left one of them here at home base, and they put the other one on an airplane. And they spent $5,500 or something worth of 1940s money to like fly this thing around the Earth, around and around for a long time at high speed. And when they brought them back together, it was off by several hundredths of a second or something. So they immediately checkmated and like, yep, proved.
Oh, wait, that wasn't what he said.
The person who wrote the formula,
is it real? He said, "Is there any practical application? Like, if we use of
it?" There is actually. It gets used all the time in like geospatial, like geocentric GPS. Satellite, GPS stuff like that. And actually, funny enough, you know, so they have to accommodate for a slight variance in time experience in these satellites that are out there going, 17,000 miles an hour around the Earth. But the person who wrote that formula that is still used to this day was Hedy Lamarr, who was Howard Hughes' girlfriend. She was this incredible person. She was a model in Germany.
Show us a picture of Hedy Lamarr, by the way. It's important people know what this lady looked like.
Oh, yeah. She was like a model and a spy. She defected from Germany in some sort of like fancy James Bond type dinner party. Comes to America. Not only is she beautiful and a model and a spy, she becomes Howard Hughes' girlfriend. She's like a genius engineer and like mechanical engineer. She developed one of the modern, like the airplane wing that kind of adjusts, like to kind of change the profile on the top for lift, the flaps, all that. She did stuff with the modern airplane wing. And Howard Hughes basically set her up in a lab. And she came up with
I was like, a woman who invented something, you've already lost me in this pile of lies.
Oh, no. I mean, came up with a formula that is used to this day on these satellites with that, as you said, that practical application for adjusting for that time dilation. And yeah, she's awesome. I mean, what a striking person to, brains and beauty and all of that. But she had, when she worked with Howard Hughes and his sort of skunk works, that was something she came up with, which was.
I bet if I was dating Howard Hughes at the time, I would have come up with something too. He would have handed me a couple discoveries.
It's the 4 ham sandwich. It's got 4 kinds of ham. All right, I know you can't fathom more than 3.
And I'm assuming this was in his billionaire playboy era, not the hiding out in the hotel, peeing in jars and saving its phase. The slightly less crazy part of his life.
He was saving pee in jars?
Yeah, at some point, I believe he was holed up in some hotel somewhere and was peeing in jars and hoarding it and just doing all this really wacky stuff. The tail original end of his life was bananas.
He played World of Warcraft.
Yeah, he was all into that.